The Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch. Number 4. Meditation and Wisdom. The Master addressed the assembly. Good friends, our teaching takes meditation and wisdom as its fundamental. Everyone, do not say in your delusion that meditation and wisdom are different. Meditation and wisdom are of one essence, not different. Meditation is the essence of wisdom, and wisdom is the function of meditation. At times of wisdom, meditation exists in that wisdom. At times of meditation, wisdom exists in that meditation. If you understand this doctrine, this is the equivalent study of meditation and wisdom. All you who study the way, do not say that they are different, with meditation prior to and generating wisdom, or with wisdom prior to and generating meditation. If your view of them is like this, then the Dharma would have two characteristics. This would be to say something good with your mouth, but to have that which is not good in your minds. It is to make meditation and wisdom falsely existent, to consider them as not equivalent. If there is good in both mouth and mind, and if internal and external are identical, then meditation and wisdom will be equivalent. One should understand oneself that spiritual cultivation does not exist in argumentation. If you argue about which is prior and which is secondary, then you are just like all the other deluded people. Not to desist from competition is to increase the illusion of selfhood. One will not transcend the four characteristics this way. Good friends, how is it that meditation and wisdom are equivalent? It is like the light of a lamp. When the lamp exists, there is light. When there is no lamp, there is darkness. The lamp is the essence of the light, and the light is the function of the lamp. Although the names are different, in essence they are fundamentally identical. The Dharma of meditation and wisdom is just like this. The Master addressed the assembly. Good friends, the samadhi of the single practice is to always practice the single direct mind in all one's actions, whether walking, standing still, sitting, or lying down. The Vimalakirti Sutra says, quote, "The straightforward mind is the place of enlightenment. The straightforward mind is the pure land." Don't allow your mental practices to become twisted while merely speaking of straightforwardness with your mouth. If you speak of the samadhi of the single practice with your mouth, you will not practice the straightforward mind. Just practice the straightforward mind, and be without attachment within all the dharmas. The deluded person is attached to the characteristics of dharmas and grasps onto the samadhi of the single practice, merely saying that he always sits without moving and without falsely activating the mind, and that this is the samadhi of the single practice. To have an interpretation such as this is to be the same as an insentient object. This is rather to impede the causes and conditions of enlightenment. Good friends, one's enlightenment, one's way or Tao, must flow freely. How could it be stagnated? When the mind does not reside in the dharmas, one's enlightenment flows freely. For the mind to reside in the dharmas is called, quote, fettering oneself. If you say that always sitting without moving is it, then you're just like Sariputra meditating in the forest, for which he was scolded by Vimalakirti. Good friends, there are also those who teach meditation in terms of viewing the mind, contemplating tranquility, motionlessness, and non-activation. You are supposed to make an effort on the basis of these. These deluded people do not understand, and in their grasping become mixed up like all of you here. You should understand that such superficial teachings are greatly mistaken. The Master addressed the assembly. Good friends, The correct teaching is fundamentally without either sudden or gradual. It is human nature that is either clever or dull. Deluded people cultivate gradually, while enlightened people suddenly conform to the truth. If you recognize your own fundamental mind and see your own fundamental nature, there will be no such distinctions. Thus it is that sudden and gradual are posited as provisional names. Good friends, since the past, this teaching of ours has first taken non-thought as its central doctrine, the formless as its essence, and non-abiding as its fundamental. The formless is to transcend characteristics within the context of characteristics. Non-thought is to be without thought in the context of thoughts. Non-abiding is to consider in one's fundamental nature that all worldly things are empty, with no consideration of retaliation, whether good or evil, pleasant or ugly, an enemy or friend, etc., during times of words, fights, and disputation. Within continuing moments of thought, one should not think of the previous mental realm. If one thinks of the previous thought, the present thought, and the later thought, one's thoughts will be continuous without cease. This is called, quote, fettered. If one's thoughts do not abide in the Dharmas, this is to be unfettered. Thus it is that non-abiding is taken as the fundamental. Good friends, to transcend all the characteristics externally is called the formless. To be able to transcend characteristics is for the essences of the Dharmas to be pure. Thus it is that the formless is taken as the essence. Good friends, for one's mind to remain undefiled within the sensory realms is called non-thought. Within one's own thoughts, one should always transcend the realms. One should not generate the mind relative to the realms. If one does not think of the 100 things, then thoughts will be completely eliminated. It is greatly mistaken to believe that as soon as thought is eradicated, one dies and is born in some other location. Think on this, you who are studying the way. If you cannot recognize your own mistakes regarding the meaning of Dharma, how much will you mislead others? To be deluded oneself and not see this is to slander the Buddhist scriptures. Thus it is that non-thought is taken as the central doctrine. Good friends, why is it that non-thought is taken as the central doctrine? If you depend merely on oral explanations of seeing the nature, like a deluded person, you will have thoughts relative to the realms, and you will even activate false views regarding those thoughts. And from this will be generated all the enervating defilements and false thoughts. There is in the self-nature fundamentally not a single Dharma that can be perceived. To think that there were any would be a false explanation, a disaster, a false view of enervating defilements. Therefore, this teaching takes non-thought as its central doctrine. Good friends, what is negated by the, quote, non? What kind of thing is, quote, thought? Non means to be without the characteristics of duality, to be without the mind of the enervating defilements. Thought is to think of the fundamental nature of suchness. Suchness is the essence of thought. Thought is the function of suchness. Thought is activated in the self-nature of suchness. It is not the case that the eyes, ears, nose, and tongue are able to think. It is because of the self-nature of suchness that thoughts are activated. If suchness were non-existent, then eyes and ears, forms and sounds would be simultaneously destroyed. Good friends, thoughts are activated from the self-nature of suchness. Although the 6 sensory faculties possess perceptual cognition, They do not defile the myriad realms. And yet the true nature is always autonomous. Therefore, the Sutra says, quote, when one is able to discriminate well the characteristics of the Dharmas, this is to be unmoving within the cardinal meaning.